about what chronic care is. Over 40% of healthcare cases today involve one or more disease combinations. So 40% of all healthcare, 86% of the spend in healthcare is on chronic conditions. It's estimated that by 2023, the cost of that to the country will be $4.2 million. So CMS defines chronic care as a patient that's had two or more conditions over a 12-month period. They're seen regularly by a doctor at least 20 minutes a month, and they have the need for the management of medications, because if you have two or more conditions, you're probably taking multiple medications, and those need to be managed. You also need to develop a concrete care plan that follows that patient and is changed as it's needed to adapt to any changes in the patient's care. So we're going to talk about one use case that we actually have developed for one of our clients, and this is just an example of a chronic care condition and the difficulty in managing that condition. And so we're going to talk about the use of warfarin, which is a drug that is used. It's actually the second highly prescribed drug after insulin in the country, but it requires a lot of management. It requires regular testing, and any changes in the patient's condition need to be taken into account, because it's a very dangerous drug. Some actually consider it the most dangerous highly prescribed drug in the country. A third of the patients receiving warfarin have to be monitored regularly because their metabolism can change because they're taking another medication, they gain weight or lose weight. So it's really important that a care plan is established. So I'm going to talk about one story because I think this is very poignant. This story was reported in the Washington Post. An 85-year-old man who was in a nursing home. Suddenly his family came in to visit him and realized he had bruises all over his body. By the time they took him to the ER, he actually passed away. And the reason was he was taking warfarin. He had a cold, and so someone prescribed antibiotics, which is a dangerous combination. The nursing home didn't have any system in place to be notified. Well, he's on warfarin and you just subscribed antibiotics. They had no drug interaction system. They had no care plan that said anytime you make a change in the patient's medication when you're taking this medicine, you need to have these blood tests done. So this slide with the map on it shows you the number of adverse events with warfarin in nursing homes on a yearly basis. It's estimated that there's 34,000 cases of adverse events with warfarin in nursing homes alone. So we've come up with a solution working with one of our customers to design a system that will help them manage their patients who are on the warfarin medication. They already have a standard in their organization that says if a patient's on warfarin, they have to be sent to the warfarin clinic for management. But occasionally a patient doesn't get referred here for one reason or another. So we've developed a system to help them manage the situation.
Yeah, so when we think about solution, there are four core aspects. Thinking about chronic disease management, one of the things which is very important today is that whenever you are coordinating a patient for even chronic or non-chronic disease, you need to have a full patient 360 view, right, about everything happening with the patient. Then we need to make sure that it is not specific to a physician or to a caregiver, but the focus is more around that how the network or the caregiver can interact within the same console, within the same information, and be able to react to it. The third key context which is important is that all of the communication which we are doing has to be with the context of the patient, right? So there are a lot of communication-based tools out there, but the important part is that not only that it sends message between the caregivers to the patients or the caregivers of the patient, but it also allows them to connect the 360 view of the patient right from there and understand the depth of what's really happening. And the final one was that, means these disease are changing now with the precision decision, means management, a lot of more data coming in. So the care plan which works in the past for a specific persona, a specific patient, needs to be tailored for each specific based on what the means pathways are coming around. So making sure that we have a role-based case workflow available in shape of clinical pathways, so you can actually create these pathways based on the specific of the patient. So we merged these four kind of core components of the solutions into one to give you the final solution in the care coordination and specifically for the warfarin management. Warfarin management today. There are different elements behind the scene. It is using different capability of Microsoft platform within Microsoft Dynamics 365, Microsoft Azure, and the machine learning from Azure to detect those means cases where we need to perform some of these specific case scenarios. So what I'm going to do is just with the background in, I'm going to kind of get into a specific solution presentation. I need to switch. All right. So one of the things you will see as I log into is a web-based application connected behind the scene with Microsoft Dynamics CRM and Azure platform. One of the things you will see is as a care coordinator log into the system, it built-in KPI from Power BI right at point of use, right? So the few things which we are looking into is the patient satisfaction index, new patients per month, and there are two things which we are doing. Is it coming from a direct referral within your EMR solutions, or it is detection is happening based on Azure machine learning, right? So a lot of patients in a scenario where they get prescribed specific medicine, but they were not able to pick up by physician, by nurse, or someone else to get it referred to a specific warfarin management other program. So we are applying machine learning knowledge there. Then we also have KPIs available for total patient buy status, means how much of the avoiding the rehospitalization of the nature. So there are a lot of information you will see right at the beginning, so you know what's really happening. Then we have something called What's New section. In this specific area, what we are focusing on is specific things which I need to react to, right? Whether it's a new referral, whether it's a panic result I need to react to. And then in the middle, we have this notification and communication section, which allows you to communicate between caregiver group, which allows you to make sure that we are able to communicate between, means physicians, between, means between nurses and everything. And then you have a concept for your work queues. These work queues, you can identify many work queues as a care coordinator or as any cycle which you work into. So for example, if I expand it, I can see that I have, means current cases, or I have missed appointments, I have incomplete care plans, I have things which the HIPAA. So you can create these work queues on a daily basis to make sure that you are able to work through that. In my scenario, what I'm going to do is that I'm going to pick first my panic results for Mike Padden. That's the patient showing some panic results for the INR. So we are going to go in and we'll go to specific lab results, look quickly. I can also see, means the history of other medications, the allergies which this patient has been, is looking into. I can go into the specific medication and see if the INRs, means if they have taken the medication in the history or not. So it can take all the medication I have taken. I can quickly get into and say, based on this INR result, we may need to do a new appointment, right? So it allows and connect back to the core appointment engine. So for example, if I click into new appointment, it gives me the capability of what are the next available slot. I can do other searching too, but let's just pick, if I pick in a specific slot I need to work into to set an appointment. Now, behind the scenes, system is looking into all other appointments this patient already has, right? And then start suggesting that if you already have an appointment on the Friday, instead of taking an appointment for Friday on Thursday, let's just have this appointment done on on Friday. So I can actually move this appointment, and then that becomes the new appointment. Now a notification sent back to patient on the patient app, so they can confirm the appointment and the actual appointment scheduling could be done. But that just to show you at a high capability. It's integrated back to the EMR or different solutions to be able to expose it here.
In this case, we're pulling the information from their data warehouse, which is updated every 5 minutes from their EMR.
It depends on who we are integrating with.
Right. It can be either. Or it can
So
be
we do
either.
have like integration already established with larger EMR solutions like Epic, Cerner, and Meditech, where we are able to integrate data specific to this patient. And I'm going to present quickly a little bit to this. Not in this demo, but we can certainly have further discussions. So we look into, if the appointment is done, I will go back to my core scenario, and so that was my first one. Now I can go into, for example, James Robertson has a referral. So I will click into it, and number one, it's a standard CCD-based document which we'll see. But the first thing I usually need to do to get him enrolled into that I bring him into a consent form, right? So either I preview it or just I quickly send the consent form, and that's my step number one to get them enrolled into any program based on the referral which we are working on. So that gets me back to my dashboard. So that's how you can see that how step by step from what's new section I can take a step to get my day on. There's a new notification added, the patient JR accepted the participate program. So the consent I sent him, I think Taylor just accepted it. So I can go into the specific. One of the things you will see is right from the communication, I can get to the context of that communication. So if I click on this specific one, I see those documents come in, the electronic consent form came from the patient sign, so I can review into it and then see what the next steps I need to do. In this one, since I need to enroll him into a new program, I can actually just get in and see, for example, if I have a medication, I can actually sync with my EMR to see if there is any new medication come in. So at any given point, I have a syncing with my EMR solution is available, which I can sync in. It is already periodically syncing, but at any given point, I can do an ask and I can get the updates as needed. I can go into that program, and in the program section, I have, an option to create and enroll him into a new program. And there is a list of, so there is a full, a visual editor to create case pathways or case workflows to identify the steps which we need to take to perform a specific one. For this one, if I click on it and add, it just shows me pre-designed care plan for the congestive failure. In the warfarin situation, we have we have to take certain appointment set, and based on the different INR results, we need to make the certain steps. So it just gives me the full plan right here. I can adjust the plan based on the patient, or I can just mark it for the enrollment. So when I click on enroll, the system will allow me to enroll the system, that patient, and the notification get back to the patient to get the consent and go through the whole process. So it just looking at a high level, it just allows you to connect the dots for you as we are working through. There are other personas, physician will have the exactly similar experience, nurses will have the exactly similar experience to walk through the process as they go in. One other thing I wanted to show you.
So as you probably know, at least with customer officers and other they wanted to have the patient have 4 visits within the first 2 weeks. So as soon as they make contact with that patient, they'll set up those 4 visits. The first one after 3 days of taking the medication, so that they can look at the blood levels, and that's pretty much a routine visit. And actually what they do is once they get on a routine visit, the patient comes in every 30 days. If the blood work's high, they wait for the blood work to come in, they send them home. If they don't, if the blood work needs some alteration, then they'll meet with the pharmacist or a physician, depending on what the situation is. And they can immediately then change the workflow to say, well, instead of having him come back in a month, we need him back in 2 weeks. So this is all very easy to make.
one of the other thing you will see is that access to the information, whether we need a full demographic, whether we need the access to the care team, is already integrated with the Skype for Business. So if you need to contact a conference call with the care team, or we need to do any of the activity, you will be able to get through. If I go into a specific chart view, this is like, is what we call a more compartmentalized view of the specific patient, right? So for example, if I need to see a specific vital signs, or if I need to see, any of these specific data, I will be able to see right from, right from the loading of the screen too. One of the other thing I wanted to show, if I need to switch my phone. So this is, so that's my son in the background. Pretty excited about the app too. So let me just open up. Means I already downloaded my patient portal app, and as I load it up, means I just pick as a family. So this app is kind of again connected with different applications to feed data in at one consolidated view, right? This just shows us the lifestyle concept of it. Means if I look into the communications, it gives me, means as I get into the enrollment, it gives me the step-by-step, means whatever the steps I needed to take. Other, means information is specific to my appointment, which we have tried to create in the past. It also shows me capability to kind of, means see all of my appointments, the detail of the appointments, the why any of the appointments are happening. And look into the details of it. And remember, it's a pretty configurable application. We have provided limited information on this screen only to make sure that it meets the specific customer requirement. The customer has bigger asks, like where they need more information or less information, so we can configure it to make sure that it works specific to it. This one just shows, some of the key activity. It is again working behind the scene with Microsoft platform, using the same common activity framework. So not only these activities are available in, for example, Microsoft Health Board, right? So if the patient is using Microsoft Health Board, same activity could be available there, or it could be available in this app. So for example, if I need to I have a, it's medication reminder, right? So I can go in and look for my medication reminder and can identify if I have taken, if I've missed, if it's any details on it. So I can just mark from here and start, clearing the steps or the activities I need to perform. For example, I need to update my INR result. So I can just get into, and if it's a manual result I need to pop in, I will be able to manually enter the information, and then it will just create whatever the next workflow it needs to create. Means to identify if the INR result is higher and I need to pick up.
And because this INR is high, a message will immediately go back to the care team saying they did this test at home and his INR is high. They'll probably want him to come in and take another test internally because this was a home-based test.
All right, so similarly, means I can also take, means vital. And this one is like pretty, I can manually enter based on whatever the equipment I have, or I also have the capability to go in and sync my devices. So for example, if I'm syncing my devices, it gives me the capability to kind of sync whatever the devices through Bluetooth so I can integrate with. These devices are already, there are some devices which is already pre-configured, there are devices which is specific to patients or the scenarios which we need to also, work through to configure in. So if I go back to my, for example, medication or any other result, I will be able to take any of those communications up and complete it as we get through the full cycle. So that's like another patient experience with the full connectivity. And as we are taking any of these actions, it's going back to the care coordinator, it's going back to the patient scenario and work it through in the application. So that's what we wanted to show you at a high level, some of the capabilities that what we have developed is specific to the scenarios, which really help our customers. Number one, it increased the communication between the patient. It's typically, if you have a patient who comes show up for a physical exam annually, and then you don't have any interaction about whatever you have diagnosed and how you're going to take care of it. With this tool, it allows you to increase the communication significantly. It allows you to make sure that you have access to the patient, and end of the day, it allows you to increase loyalty of the patient with your organization because you are preactively or proactively kind of is looking into the aspect of their life and what can we do to manage it better.
And in addition, our plans are that as we work with this clinic, we'll be able to use machine learning and artificial intelligence to, if there's a result, the patient came in and saw a different physician who prescribed an antibiotic and didn't immediately be aware that the patient's also taking warfarin, an alert would come up and say, this needs to be looked into.
Patient using a Fitbit versus an iWatch versus another, can they be synced to populate that application?
Yes.
It doesn't matter then which.
So there are the way we have like we have published the APIs to connect the information. For famous bears, we already have integrated for them. So all the Fitbit, Apple, Microsoft Band, all has been connected. So not only that it's available on my iPhone, but it's also available on my Microsoft Band. If I get any patient notification, if I get any notification for medication, there are a lot of other elements available on my Microsoft Band, and we're working with Fitbit to add those. But at Microsoft Band, it's available out of the box today. So one of the things, if I go back, is that's in a specific scenario, I think, which we have discussed, that what are the capabilities of chronic disease and how we can manage warfarin, right? But as you can see that the system with the core principle has a lot of capability to manage diabetes, manage blood pressure, manage other chronic diseases. And not only that it's allow you to manage chronic diseases, but within the clinical pathway, we have the capability to identify the activity which will count towards your total 20 minutes of consultation, which is required for the claim or for the CMS management, right? So it's not only handling the clinical part, but it's also allowing you to understand that how it can contribute towards your effective claim process in future.
Yeah, so just to wrap up, as we showed you one particular incident of a chronic ailment that's being managed by a very dangerous medication, I believe, and how we're able to have the interaction between the patient and the care providers be almost real time, so that they're able to react to any changes in the patient and immediately talk to them. But this, as Syed said, this is definitely usable across other kind of chronic illnesses and medications, and the workflow is relatively easy to change, working directly with your physicians, or if you have the best practice that you want to put in place, we can manage to that as well.
So one of the final slide before we get into the Q&A side of the equation, this is one of the core is focused on the patient journey from Microsoft's standpoint, which shows that how a patient walks through a complete patient journey cycle, whether it's in the security and compliance, whether it's in operation optimization, whether it's in a coordination of care or patient-centric experience, patient engagement. It's a complete cycle for the digital transformation, right? And what we thought is going to be good idea for is to go through. And you can see that within the context of all of those slides, all of those aspects, MazikCare can support into the areas of coordination, the care, providing a patient-centric experience, being able to deliver a patient engagement using Microsoft Dynamics 365, and in a nutshell, allow you to connect your organization, your investment within the EMRs, and bring that data in a way where your physicians, coordinators, nurses, and patients can interact and work really together. We're open for Q&A. We have 5 minutes left. Any questions?